In a town where everyone always tells the truth, life is simple but sometimes tough. People have cars, jobs, homes, and families, but no one knows how to lie. Mark Bellison, an overweight and unlucky man, steps out of the elevator and walks down the hallway, looking around with uncertainty. He stops at a door and knocks. A woman named Anna opens it. She's surprised to see him so soon. Mark greets her, a bit nervous. Anna, calm but unimpressed, makes it clear she isn't too excited, mainly because of how he looks. She lets him in while she continues getting ready. As Mark waits in the living room, he mentions feeling unsure about arriving too early. He also worries that the restaurant might not meet Anna's expectations, but it's the best he can afford. In his 40s, Mark struggles with money and might even lose his job soon. A few minutes later, Anna comes downstairs and they head out together. At the restaurant, they sit down and order drinks. Mark tries to learn more about her. Anna begins talking about her life. She has a good job, earns a lot, and sees herself as attractive and successful. She seems confident, but admits that sometimes she feels low, lying in bed, eating and crying. Before she can say more, the waiter returns with their drinks and takes their order. During the meal, Anna gets a call from her mother. She answers and starts describing Mark, mentioning that he isn't good-looking, doesn't earn much, and has a round face with a small nose. She also makes it clear that nothing romantic will happen between them. After dinner, Mark and Anna walk back to her place. Mark thanks her for going out with him, explaining it was a favor to his friend Greg. He admits to himself that she's far beyond his reach, and that this is probably the last time they'll meet. Surprisingly, Anna, slightly affected by the drinks, says she actually had a nice time. She tells Mark she'll share how she really feels once she's thinking more clearly. Before they say goodbye, she gives him a quick kiss on the cheek, leaving him smiling. Later that night, Mark falls asleep at home while watching a simple, honest ad for Coca-Cola. The next morning, Mark runs into his neighbor, Frank. They talk briefly, both feeling down about how their lives are going. Mark gives a casual, "See you tomorrow," but Frank replies seriously, saying that might not happen. He's been thinking about ending his life. As Mark continues his walk to work, he passes a homeless man, a street preacher, a couple arguing, and then a woman who randomly starts a conversation with him. At the building where Mark works, a coworker is showing some guests around. When Mark enters, he's introduced not kindly as one of the company's least successful writers, and it's hinted that he might lose his job soon. Before reaching his office, Mark stops to talk to Shelley, the secretary, who clearly doesn't like him. She casually tells him that their boss, Anthony, plans to fire him later, and it seems like the whole office already knows. Back at his desk, Mark watches through the glass as Anthony walks around nervously. Mark calls out, and Anthony finally invites him in. As expected, Anthony lets him go, saying Mark's writing mainly about the Black Plague isn't good enough. While still trying to process the news, Mark receives an email from Anna, a response others in the office also seem to get. Then, to make things worse, Brad Kessler, a well-respected writer at the company, walks over not to say goodbye, but to mock Mark on his way out. Later that day, Mark visits his mother, Martha, at a care home. On his way to her room, a few elderly residents greet him and talk about odd things. Inside, he helps his mother fix the TV channel and talks to her about how badly things are going. The next morning, there's a knock at Mark's door. It's his landlord asking for $800 in rent, but Mark only has $300 left in the bank. With no way to pay, the landlord tells him he has to leave the apartment. After that, Mark heads to the bank to take out all his money and close his account. But when he gets there, the bank system isn't working, so the teller can't check his balance or close the account. Still, she allows him to withdraw his money. Since she can't see the amount, she asks Mark how much is left. In that moment, something strange happens. Mark says a number that isn't true. He claims he has $800, even though he really only has $300. It's the first time anyone has ever said something that isn't real. Just then, the system starts working again, and the teller sees the real balance. But because no one in this world knows what lying is, she believes the system must be wrong and gives Mark the full $800 without question. Mark leaves the bank in shock, hardly believing what just happened. He quickly finds his landlord and pays the rent. Back at home, he lets out a loud cheer. He's discovered something powerful and new. Later, at a bar with his friend Greg, Mark shares what he did. Greg is confused, so Mark calls over Jim, the bartender, and gives an example. He says things that aren't true, but because lying doesn't exist, they believe everything he says. Excited by the possibilities, Mark asks what someone could do with this new skill. Greg and Jim suggest he could use it to impress a woman. Mark decides to try it. He meets a beautiful woman and takes her to a motel, but when the moment comes, he changes his mind. He doesn't go through with the plan and quietly leaves her alone in the room. Mark returns to the bar feeling let down. He and his friends begin thinking again. Then a new idea comes: money. Mark and his tipsy friend Greg head out for a drive. Soon, they notice a police car following them. The officer stops them and quickly pulls Greg out of the car for driving under the influence. But once again, Mark uses his new skill. He calmly says, "Greg isn't drunk." Since no one knows how to lie, the officer believes him and lets them go. Mark takes the wheel and drives to an entertainment venue. There, he uses his talent to win big cheating through simple lies. When they leave, both men are carrying buckets filled with money. The next morning, Mark sees Frank near the elevator. Frank shares that he's been looking up ways to end his life and plans to go through with it that night. Wanting to help, Mark tells Frank something that isn't true, but it's meant to bring hope. He says things will get better. Frank believes him, and Mark promises to visit him later. Feeling a sense of purpose, Mark starts helping others too. He gives money to a man living on the street, chats kindly with a woman outside the film office, calms down a couple arguing, and offers comfort to elderly people at the care home. That evening, he keeps his word and spends time with Frank. That night, Mark goes to his room and calls Anna. He asks her for another date, promising it will be better this time. She agrees to meet him the next day. After the call, Mark watches a show made by Lecture Films. Feeling inspired, he gets out of bed and starts writing his own script. The next morning, Mark walks into the Lecture Films building with new confidence. He goes straight to Anthony's office. Even though Anthony tries to stop him, Mark begins to share his new story about the Black Plague. After hearing a few lines, Anthony calls everyone to come and listen. Mark reads the whole script to the team. Everyone is impressed, and Mark gets his job back. Later, Mark and Anna go on their second date at a nice restaurant. Anna praises his script and wants to know more about him. Mark tells her about his hard past. His father was an alcoholic and went to jail for stealing. But he also talks about his kind mother. He plans to bring her from the nursing home and give her a better life. With his new success and money, Mark hopes this time he can be close to Anna in a real way. Although Anna thinks Mark would make a good husband, she hesitates because of his family history. Their talk is suddenly interrupted by a phone call. Mark rushes to the hospital to see his mother. There, a doctor tells him that Martha had a serious heart attack and might have another one soon, which could be deadly. Mark feels worried as his mother starts to cry and says she's afraid to die. Wanting to comfort her, Mark tells her something that isn't true, that she will be happy forever after she passes. What Mark doesn't know is that the doctor and nurses are nearby, listening. They watch him closely and encourage him to keep talking. After his mother passes away, Mark leaves the room feeling heartbroken. In the hallway, he finds Anna waiting for him. She follows him, and together they drive back to her apartment. They sit quietly, sharing the sadness. Anna gently holds his hand. The next morning, they wake up together on the couch. That morning, Mark drives home and sees a big crowd outside his apartment. As he moves through the people, nurses from the hospital point at him. Everyone starts asking questions about what happens after death. When Mark reaches his apartment, Anna calls. She asks about a news report that says Mark knows what happens after people die. Soon, Anna comes to his apartment. She asks him to explain. Mark tells her that to calm his mother's fear, he told her there is happiness after death. Anna likes what he said and encourages him to write it down. After a while, Greg arrives with pizza to keep Mark company. Meanwhile, people all over the world wait to hear what Mark will say about life after death. By morning, Mark finishes writing everything he knows. Looking for something to put the papers on, he uses the empty pizza boxes Greg brought the night before. Soon, Mark stands before the crowd and shares the news they have been waiting to hear. He says there is a man in the sky who controls everything. He explains that when people die, they don't vanish but go to a wonderful place. Everyone there will have a big house, and all the people they love will be there too. There will also be free ice cream in many flavors, anytime, day or night. Mark adds that if someone does 3 bad things, they will go to a terrible place after they die. People ask what those bad things are. After talking for 2 hours, Mark explains that the bad things mean hurting others on purpose or causing physical harm. He then reveals that the man in the sky decides who goes to the good place and who goes to the bad one, and also controls when people live or die. Some people complain that this man is unfair for allowing bad things to happen to them. But Mark answers that the man in the sky also makes good things happen. Mark shares one final thought. Even if the man in the sky does bad things to people, he makes up for it by giving them endless happiness after they die, if they don't do the bad things Mark talked about. A girl from the crowd says it sounds like a test. When people ask how Mark knows all this, he tells them the man in the sky told him. In the days that follow, Mark's story is everywhere on newspaper front pages, magazine covers, and even in research articles. Because of this, Mark's life changes. His career grows, he becomes well known, buys a big house, spends a lot of time with Anna, and his Black Plague script becomes popular. One day, Mark and Anna sit on a bench in the park. Mark asks what she thinks about the people around them. Anna starts saying mean things about how they look, calling them losers, sweaty, and nerds. Mark asks her to try to see beyond how people look. Anna then asks Mark what he thinks about her. Mark smiles and tells her she looks nice. But Mark sees more than just her looks. He finds Anna kind, caring, and truly special. When it's Anna's turn to talk about Mark, she starts with a joke about his size and nose. Then, she gives him many kind words. She says Mark is smart, gentle, funny, and most of all, he makes her happy. Feeling close, they start a relationship. Still, Anna hesitates because she worries about Mark's family background. The next day, Anna is in her car, listening to radio hosts who make fun of Mark. They call him a fat loser and laugh at his story about the man in the sky. At the same time, Mark is at home, telling his assistant to write his new script. As the assistant leaves, Anna arrives with a birthday card. She says she can't watch a movie with Mark because she has a date with Brad Kessler. Their conversation leads to Anna saying she plans to get closer to Brad. Mark disagrees strongly and makes a rule. A woman should not be with someone unless they are married. Soon, Brad comes to Mark's house to pick up Anna, and they leave for their date. At the restaurant, Anna quickly notices that Brad is very full of himself and tries to control everything. He even orders food for Anna without asking her. During the meal, Anna's mother calls again to check on them. Brad asks to speak with her but ends up saying rude things, which hurts Anna deeply. At dinner, Brad talks only about their genes and mocks Mark. Anna feels upset and leaves. The next day, Mark sees nothing has changed. People still care about mansions after death, and some treat him badly. Anna watches Mark's interview and realizes she cares for him, but her mother opposes it and makes her talk to Brad. Mark visits his mother's grave, feeling sad. Time passes, but Anna's mother still won't accept him. Mark and Anna don't talk for a while until Anna brings him a wedding invitation for the next day. Mark begs Anna not to marry Brad, but she feels she must find the perfect genetic match. Later, Anna comforts a chubby boy being teased at the park. The next day, Mark gets ready for the wedding with Greg's help. They arrive at the church and the ceremony starts. When asked if anyone objects, Mark speaks up despite the mockery. He tells Anna he loves her and questions choosing a partner only for their genes. Mark wants Anna to choose what she truly wants. When people ask about the man in the sky, Mark refuses to lie and leaves the church. Anna follows and asks. Mark admits the man in the sky is a story he made to comfort his sick mother. Though confused, Anna doesn't mind. She knows she wants chubby children with snub noses. They smile, feeling free and happy. Years later, Pregnant Anna serves dinner to Mark and their son. They praise her cooking, making her smile. Anna leaves the room, and Mark and their son share a high five. Looks like the boy has learned to tell stories too.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.